Welcome back, Mando.
Oh, greetings, Bucketheads. Mavar Tagar. Welcome to our 328th Clankers a Clankering episode of Mandovision. And I am your host, Nargai Tom. Thank you so much for checking out our independent Star Wars podcast. We're so glad that you're here. Hit me up on those socials at Mando_Vision, Twitter/X and Insta, Mandovision at Blue Sky, and you can email the show, mandovisiontom@gmail.com. Make sure to like, subscribe, follow, and share this show with all the Mandalorians in your covert. All right, Bucketheads, we are back for another exciting installment of our Star Wars Rebels rewatch. And as I mentioned on our last episode, I am recording a bunch of these I'm recording a bunch of these all at once because the month of September is going to be somewhat hectic. So if there has been Star Wars news breaking, stay tuned for special bonus episodes to address those sort of things. Otherwise, we're just going to be focusing on Star Wars Rebels as we make our way through Season 3. And we have a really interesting episode this week. It is kind of a throwback, a callback, an ode to the Clone Wars animated series as Rex goes toe-to-toe with Separatist droids. You know, it is a very interesting episode in many, many regards as we sort of tie up some loose ends from that series. It's good in many, many respects. There's one little teeny tiny thing that I sort of brushed up against, and we'll talk about that as we get into sort of like the heart of the episode, if you will. But yeah, we go to the planet Agamar. The Ghost is looking to salvage some weapons and ballistics and stuff like that. They're looking for proton bombs, things like that, to take back for the rebels. When they come across a squadron of not deactivated battle droids. So it's an interesting episode. We'll talk about it more in specifics here just momentarily. But I think we should just go ahead and get into the specifics, right? Let's go ahead and put it all out there, all right? This is Star Wars Rebels, Season 3, Episode 6, The Last Battle. Original air date was October 22nd, 2016. Our plot for this week: on a salvage mission led by Captain Rex, the Ghost crew is captured by a unit of old battle droids determined to fight one last battle to end the Clone Wars. The episode is directed by Bosco Ng, written by Brett Friedman, and some story editing by the good Stephen Melsheen. Our primary cast for the week's episode: Taylor Gray is as Ezra Bridger, Vanessa Marshall's Harrison Dula, Freddie Prinze Jr. is Kanan Jarrus, Tyr Sakar is Sabine Wren, Steve Blum is Zeb Oriello, Dave Filoni's Chopper, D. Bradley Baker's Admiral Constantine, Red Poldren Trooper, and Rex, David Eluello is Agent Callus, Matthew Wood is B1268, and all the battle droids. Welcome back, Matthew Wood. Mary Elizabeth McGlynn is Governor Price, and Greg Berger is Kalani, the tactical droid of the Separatists, who we've met before on a previous episode of Star Wars The Clone Wars from back in the day. And let's see, it's from the Frontrunners, where Kalani was the tactical droid on Onderon. So we get to see him. That's the episode where Anakin and Ahsoka are training Saw Gerrera on how to combat the Separatists that are on their world. So that was a pretty darn good episode too. So that's where we first see Kalani in the episode. All right, let's go ahead, talk about our episode in more particulars. You know what that means, friends. It's time. Strap on your buckets. Let's go.
Get out of here. We'll hold them off.
You're going to have to relocate the covert.
This is the way.
This is the way.
And as you have probably noted by the tenor of my voice, it is Mandovision After Dark in many regards, as I must keep my exuberance in check because it is the dead of night in my home. So let's go ahead and get into this episode. It is a very interesting episode. There's some stuff with Callus and Price. It's I don't know. I don't even know if it really. It's so small and it's just not as important. But it's just to show that Price is making headway against the rebellion, right? They intercepted some rebels trying to get to a fuel depot, and she's been able to dispatch them. And she sends forces to Agmar because they intercept a distress call from the crew of the Ghost once they realize that they're in trouble. So I'm not going to talk too much about that aspect of it. Just keep that in mind for the episode itself. What I really want to do is kind of hit on some of our big themes in this one. Particularly from Rex's perspective, there's a certain level of some PTSD here. As these battle droids come back to life, he's captured. There's a moment where he thinks he's back in the Clone Wars. So, Star Wars doesn't go too deep on some of those more traumatic elements of the Clone Wars, but we see that Rex is definitely a survivor of them and still has had a hard time processing them. And meanwhile, Kalani, the tactical droid, in much in the same boat. The episode opens with sort of like a recap. I do like how they sort of put the kid gloves on to a degree, so that if you didn't watch all the Clone Wars, you kind of get an encapsulation of what it was like from Rex's perspective. Now, this is for the benefit of Ezra, who wasn't alive during the Clone Wars, but Kanan and Rex remember these things very, very vividly. And you got to remember that Kanan was roughly Ezra's age when he was a Padawan to Dipa B'Elaba at the time of the Clone Wars. So, but Rex, the veteran of many, many battles, is the one who seems to have the hardest time letting go of things, right? So they get captured, and Kalani, the tactical droid, we find out, was able to avoid the shutdown order at the end of the war. He believed that the droids had the tactical advantage and the superiority, and it was only a matter of time until they won. So when Order 66 happened and all these other things were falling into place, Kalani was able to somehow isolate his troops, intercept, and block the shutdown command. It's an interesting notion because, again, Rex has described Kalani as highly intelligent. And Rex is, no slouch himself. So the big things that we focus on here is that the way the Clone Wars ended, right? For the forces of the Grand Army of the Republic, it was completely unsatisfactory. There was no clear victory. And for the forces of the Separatists, who, again, seemed to have the tactical superiority, the numbers were on their side, the Clone Wars just ended, right? There was no victory necessarily. Not in the more not in a clear, concise fashion, I guess is the best way to say it. Not victory in a traditional sense where one wins, one loses. So Rex and Kalani, begrudgingly, I think, on Rex's part especially initially, they agreed to stage a battle to end the Clone Wars. Kalani has the tactical superiority, has been thinking about these things for a long time, and now he has a clone trooper and a Jedi. So he can make a battle now that is reminiscent of what he had to go up against before. It's very interesting. There's a lot of interesting elements in this whole episode. But the main one is from Ezra, right? Who hasn't really fought in a war in an organized sense just yet. And Rex coming down on him pretty hard about following orders and having good tactics. That's never been Ezra's strong point. But as this small rebellion grows, Ezra's going to have to learn how to be a soldier in a sense, right? Like we're getting back to the point now where the Jedi are going to be generals and commanders and leaders in a war. And I think we all know that that's a dangerous path for them to be on because that's not where they are best aligned because it led to their downfall. But that is the reality of the situation, is that they are going to have a more militaristic approach to things. And again, Kanan advises Ezra not to take it too hard when Rex comes down on him, because clearly Rex is going through something. He's processing something on his own, and he's taking this last battle very, very seriously. The interesting element of the episode comes in play from, of all people, Ezra Bridger, because again, he has that outsider's perspective. He wasn't in it, so he has the benefit of distance and clarity. He can now look at these past events and bring a new perspective to him that both Kalani, the highly intelligent tactical droid, and Rex have not yet considered, and that is, how can you really have this end battle of the Clone Wars when the circumstances aren't aligned correctly, right? Like the battle droids are ill-maintained and falling apart, and their batteries are dying. So 2 Jedi and an old clone trooper, do pretty darn well against them. But, Kalani's not going to back off of that. But it's Ezra's perspective on the whole situation, right? The Grand Army of the Republic didn't win. The clones were decommissioned, taken out of service. The Separatists didn't achieve their objective, and the droid army was just sent a shutdown signal, a shutdown command, and the war just ends. Well, if the war just ends and the Republic loses and the Separatists loses, well, who wins? And it's Ezra's perspective that makes them both realize that, holy crap, the Empire won. So, and that's sort of my one little nit to pick in this episode, is that 15 years on, neither one of these people, Rex, no slouch in the intelligence department, but a highly intelligent tactical droid, had yet to really consider the possibility that they were both just pawns in the game of the rise of the Empire. And it's so, when Ezra points this out to them and the Empire begins to arrive, Kalani and Rex realize that they're on the same side here. So they're going to fight together against the Empire because that was who ultimately ended the war before they could end it in a more proper fashion, I suppose. So then we shift into our end of this whole sequence, which is knowing that the battle droids are ill-maintained, failing. It's just about survival and getting away from the Empire. Using the Jedi with the proton bombs that they came to collect to disable some walkers and make their escape and survive to live out the end of their days, right? Like, that kind of sounds bleak. But again, now that the war is over for both of them, the droids in particular, like, they can move on and try to be something else, I suppose, which we can talk about later. Because, yeah, that's what happens. We make our escape. Because Chopper had earlier in the episode found some shuttles that were sitting around. We now have a replacement for the Phantom. Will have to be modified a little bit. But so we're picking up on that plot thread from the opening arc of the season when we lost the Phantom, due to Ezra's blind arrogance at his skills and capabilities. So a lot of good things in the episode. It does move really fast, and it is fun in many regards because, again, Ezra's getting to experience things like the battle droids for the first time. So when they're captured in the ray shield, and he's hearing the clankers talk, the battle droids talk for the first time, and he hears Roger, Roger for the first time. It's pretty funny when he asks, like, who's Roger? Because, again, it's just good comedic elements right there to the battle droids. There's some interesting elements. Again, we talked about the battle droids being powered down, so when the droidicas come down and Rex is able to kind of like destabilize one by hitting it with his helmet, all these things that we never had seen work before in the Clone Wars. It is fun that they sort of play off the idea that, like, yeah, these battle droids are so functional, but they are, like, not powered the same way. They have not gotten maintenance. So this a recreation of theirs is not as good as it should be. It's another comedic element. Part of it, again, comes from the battle droids, but I like the way the battle droids approach the stormtroopers. Just trying to have, like, a civil conversation, and the stormtroopers just completely ignoring them. Just like we don't have time to talk to obsolete technology, and then they go about blasting them. Sad, as we are proponents of droid rights. on this podcast. So Kalani and his droids make their escape. I don't remember if we hear from them again later in this show, in this series or not. It would feel like Kalani at the very least would want to be involved with the rebellion to a sense, but maybe he just wants to go live out his days now, and take the last of his battle droids with him and go hide out somewhere until they all just power down naturally. I'm a little unclear. I don't recall for sure. I guess we'll have to wait and see. And then our heroes go back. Rex is able to kind of find some peace that the war ended in a little bit of a more satisfactory manner to him. But again, I think it is sort of an interesting concept that he now has to live with the idea that, like, apparently he didn't think it through, and that the Empire was the one who really won the Clone Wars. And just exactly what that all encompassed, the fall of the Jedi, the decommissioning and retiring of the clones, and the fact that the Separatist army was just shut off. It's very conveniently, right? So again, good episode. I just had that one little tiny nit to pick that Kalani and Rex couldn't figure this out in the 15 intervening years since the rise of the Empire. But that's a small thing. It's a really good Rex episode. I do like it in that regard. And it is fun to sort of have Ezra be like our newbie in the room and sort of point out some of the more funnier aspects of all these things that we've all kind of talked about, right? Like, he doesn't take the battle droids very seriously initially, and Rex has to point out, like, hey man, these things killed a lot of my friends, a lot of my brothers, and you have to respect the fact that they are dangerous. They may not look like much, but they are dangerous. And again, Ezra's a kid. He's confident, overconfident. He probably thinks to be quite capable, and he is. But again, the battle droids, we saw them. They killed a lot of people during the Clone Wars. They are not to be taken too lightly, So again, really strong Rex episode. I did really enjoy it in that regard. I felt bad for poor Zeb. Zeb doesn't get much to do in this episode. He gets taken hostage early on, and it's not until the Rex and Ezra and Kanan team up with the battle droids against the Empire that Zeb gets anything fun to do. So, again, it's a good episode overall. I just had that one nit to pick. And otherwise, yeah, I think we're going to wrap it up with that because I want you to go check out the episode, friends. And you know what that means. Follow us on the socials at Mando_Vision, Twitter /X and Insta. MandoVision at Blue Sky, and you can email the show, mandovisiontom@gmail.com. Make sure to like, subscribe, follow, and share the show with all the Mandalorians in your covert. And if you can give us those sweet 5-star reviews, we'd be most appreciative. Thank you so much for helping support small independent podcasts like us in a world where podcasts are just so corporatized right now. Oh boy. All right. This is MandoVision, and I am your host, Nargai Tom. Thank you again for being here. Bucketheads, you continue to be the best supporters on the internets, and I'm so glad that we are here. So go out there, be great Star Wars fans, be kind, supportive, understanding, respectful, compassionate, empathetic, all the good things out there that are in short supply in the world. And we'll be back next week for more Star Wars Rebels rewatches. It's going to be a roller coaster ride to the end of the year, but we're gonna have a lot of fun on the way. That's going to be the best part. So, again, go out there, be great Star Wars fans. Thank you for all the support, and we'll see you next week here at MandoVision. And in the meantime, remember, this podcast, it can only end one way. This is the way.
This is the way.
This is the way. This is the way.
I suppose you'll be heading out.
I'm not.
You should.
It's against the creed. I gave you my word. I'm with you until we both fall.
You really buy into that bantha fodder?
I do.